Okay, good morning, everybody. Like to welcome everyone into the third iteration of our webinars dealing with the different sectors, primarily in Zambia, where we're focused, and we'll say Western Province, Zambia, historically Barosiland Kingdom. And we'd like to thank everybody for taking their time to come in to join this, and we figure out how we're going to proceed and move forward with the opportunities in Africa as well as opportunities here in the US. I am Eric Sheppard, president of Mubita LLC, formerly Diversity Restoration Solutions, and we want to create opportunities for our people here as well as our people in Africa for our return to do business. Some of us might want to spend a lot of time vacationing, and we're talking about tourism and hospitality sector today. And you'll hear about some opportunities as well as for those who have not been to Africa, it could be your first experience, and we hopefully will have very pleasant experiences as we've had in the past. So I want to turn it over to our moderator, longtime homecoming family member, Ms. Agnolia B. Gay, who will do the introductions for people on the webinar right now. It is about 14 of us now. And Ms. B, if you would get things moving, and we'll come in at appropriate times.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Okay, so I guess we're all on mute. My name is Agnolia B. Gay, and I am here in the state of Arkansas. I live in Little Rock, but I'm coming to you by way of Fayetteville, Arkansas today, visiting my daughter and granddaughter. I'm excited to be your moderator this morning and to be a part of this powerful movement. This, for me, is a movement, Mubita.net, and these Providence building webinars have been very informative and enlightening. I want to encourage everyone to take out pencil and paper. Yes, thank you, Lisa, for dropping a hello in the chat. We're going to be using the chat today. I would love for you to tell us your name and where you are joining us from. Again, my name is Agnolia Gay. I'm coming from Little Rock, Arkansas. And because it's such an intimate group, we can just open up our mic and we can say our names and where we're from, but also drop it in the chat as well. If you have any questions, comments, please drop those in the chat, and we will definitely try to answer them as we move forward. So, hello.
All right. Maybe we can go down the list here. Let's see. I'm gonna start off with the one name I don't have, but have a phone number there. And the last four digits are 7221 out of the DC area. If you'd introduce yourself, please.
Okay, I see.
Can you unmute area code 202? Last four digits of your phone number is 7221.
Yeah, we're family. Just come in and say hello. Tell us where you're from. Okay, I do see them dropping it in the chat. Is there anyone? You can drop it in the chat. You can also come on and say hello as well. But if you just want to drop it in the chat, that's fine. Anybody want to say good morning? Tell us where you're from.
I'd like to say good morning. I'm Floyd Nelson, coming to you just outside of Washington, D.C. And the 7221, I believe that's Josepha's
Oh,
phone number.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she's in DC specifically at this moment, probably right near the African Union where she's working. So I think that's Josepha's phone number, but I'm happy to be here myself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah.
Uh,
And thank you for solving the mystery for us, Floyd. We appreciate that. Okay. we're
And
moving
good
on.
morning, everyone. This is Joyce B. Moody, Eric's and Lisa's cousins from the Eastern Shore of Maryland.
Wonderful. Good morning.
Good morning.
I think I saw Mrs. Waller as well. Come on. Hello, Ed Williams. I see you in the chat. All right. Well, listen, we want to thank everybody. Depending on where you're at, our time zones are different. I'm in Central Time Zone. I know that most of you are in Eastern Time Zone, but we just are excited to be able to come together, and this opportunity to be able to have conversations and learn from each other all over the world is a beautiful thing. And it's very necessary with the type of work that we're doing. So ladies and gentlemen, today we are here for the Providence Building webinar that talks about travel, tourism, and hospitality. We have 3 expert speakers, presenters that are going to bring information for us. Again, I encourage you to take out your pencil, paper, and make sure that you stay connected. That's what this is about. We have had 2 previous webinars. Our first webinar was in November. It was on education and training, and it was amazing. And then we had in January our agribusiness webinar. So this is our 3rd webinar so far. And we have more to come, and we look forward to you being on the Zoom with us each and every time we're together. So without any further ado, we are going to introduce our first speaker. I'm going to ask Lisa. Let me see if, just a second. Who are we going with first?
Manyima Cisse.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, Manyima Cisse is the proud owner of Aya Next Level LLC, a home-based business. She sells African clothing, jewelries, curtains, and handbags. She was born and raised in the Gambia, West Africa, and lives in the United States for 18 years. Manyima came to the United States to forward her education. She earned an associate degree in hospitality, business administration, and accounting. She has also earned a bachelor's degree in hotel and restaurant management from the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. Manyima has also worked with different hotel chains in the United States, in which she has been able to take a lot of those opportunities and information back to Africa. She says that hospitality is where her heart belongs. Ladies and gentlemen, our expert speaker for you today, Manyima Cisse.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Once again, my name is Manyima Cisse, and thank you, Miss B, for that wonderful introduction. I am originally from the Gambia, like Miss B said, and I've been living in the United States for almost 20 years. So, Lisa, can you please share my slide with me, please? Basically, what we're going to talk about today is about hospitality in Zambia. Hospitality in Zambia is very important to us with Mubita LLC. And why I said traveling with Mubita LLC is we travel as a group. We are a family. We share different ideas and opportunities. We all from different backgrounds. And also, let us not forget to bring the kids along too with our travels, you know. We travel with the kids so that they can have different ideas and opportunities about the other side of the world too. Like, I just have a little story. My daughter used to tell me all the time, oh, in Africa, do you guys have this when you were kids? Do you have chairs in school? You know, basically, do you have uniforms or do you wear clothes? So when I took her to Africa, I took her to Gambia basically, and we went through Morocco. She don't ask me those questions now. Now the experience is totally different. She understands that Africa is a big continent and it's a lot of opportunities in there. So I encourage everyone to join Mubita LLC because we travel as a group and we are a family. Next slide. Okay. Okay. Some of the opportunities, opportunities of hospitality, especially in Zambia and Africa. As a child, growing up in Gambia, I was born and raised in the city. So we don't actually have the opportunity to go to the village. Here we call it suburbs, rural areas, you know. So we don't have that opportunity to go to the village and feel what it feels like living in a village, what's totally different from being in a city, like moving from, we call it divisions in Africa, but here we call it counties, from one county to another, what it feels in the rural area and in the suburbs. So every time as we travel with, you know, as a school, field trips with our parents and all those things, we don't have places to sleep over. All what we have to do, we try to do it in one day. That means that go early in the morning, have all that fun, and get to go back home because there is little or no accommodation, you know. So coming up with all these hospitality ideas, I feel like Africa, especially Zambia, we need we needed more accommodation. Like Eric just said that the last time when they landed in Lusaka, going to Western Providence, it took them 10 hours. It was like a 10-hour drive. There was nowhere to stop to buy food, snack, or nothing. It was like just like a straight drive from the city to the suburbs / rural area. So coming up with some hospitality opportunities in Africa, I understand then having something like a bed and breakfast, in every division / here, for us in the United States, we call it counties. For example, having something like a bed and breakfast in every county. So then anytime there is a tour group, somebody from the city trying to visit the rural area, there is always somewhere to stop, to spend overnight, somewhere basically to sleep. And another opportunities too is some people that live in the city, sometimes they would want to have a meeting in the village, in the rural area. And most of those things sometimes it's hard to do because it's, like I said, there is no accommodation. So these are great new ideas that we can have, opportunities that can be built. We can do in Zambia a lot of hospitality ideas that we can bring in, like corner stores, hotels, bed and breakfast. So I have some pictures in the next slide for some of us to understand better what I'm talking about. So this is basically examples of what I'm talking about that can be built in different counties / in Africa, we call it divisions, sub-regions. That, for example, if we have this in different counties up there, we won't have to do that 10-hour drive. At least, you know, as a group, we can be breaking it down, stop at one division one night, do whatever that we want to do, meetings, kids doing visitings and all those things, because in Africa, all these different counties / divisions, they have something to offer. Everyone wants to visit, but the main issue is accommodation. Where can we sleep? Where can we buy food? What can we do up there? So having something like this in Zambia, especially heading all the way to Western Providence, is a good opportunity that we can establish, invest in Zambia. Let me see my next slide. And some of the hospitality facts in Zambia is a wonderful country, a beautiful country. You know, I'm from Gambia, but I'll buy this for Zambia too. Zambia is a beautiful country, wonderful country. Africans, for us in general, we nice people, very beautiful and nice. So some of the hospitality facts in Zambia is a big and bold, incredible in wildlife. There is a bunch of adventures you can do. Zambia has the biggest man-made lake. There is bush camping in Zambia, and there is elephant-back safari in Zambia too. So a lot of fun, more of these in Zambia. Zambia is a very beautiful, nice country. Okay, and that's it for me. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And any questions, I'll take it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Manyema, for sharing what I really thought was very important, the fact that you took your daughter. And I know to take that type of trip, unless you're doing it during the summer, you might have to take students out of the classroom, and that's okay, because there's an opportunity to learn and experience and be exposed. And we as a people need to understand that those are the things that we must do for our children when they have these different questions. So thank you very much. Do we have any other questions? Do we have any comments in the chat, Lisa?
No other comments, but what I'd
No.
like to do at this time is to introduce one of the officers from the Embassy of the Republic of Zambia who has joined us today. That is Miss Angela Chimpende. And Angela, if you could come off mute and possibly come on video to be able to introduce yourself and to share any tidbits you'd like about tourism in Zambia. Angela is the tourism officer for the embassy. Angela?
Awesome.
Yes, we can see you now. We will possibly hear you, Angela. Thank you for joining us, and please share a few words.
Thank you so much. It's really a great idea to have this webinar. And first of all, I was just listening into what the earlier speaker was speaking so passionately about the industry in Zambia. And I do agree. As a tourism attaché based at the Zambian embassy, and also somebody who's been in the tourism industry, Zambia has a lot to offer. And if you're looking for investment, especially in the industry, I must say that even just the issue of peace and also the regulation, it's very a welcoming country. But like the earlier speaker had alluded earlier, we need a lot of competitiveness, especially in the accommodation industry. So you will find that for you to view certain sites, the tourism sites, you need to travel quite a long way in certain regions of the country. So I think, without speaking a lot, I'm more than happy to hear a lot of questions, a lot of inquiries. I'll also put in the chat my email address so that you can just have my contact details. And I look forward to the next presenter. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very informative. Everyone, please make sure you document that information and contact Mrs. Angela Chimbinde. Thank you so much. So, are we ready for our next speaker? All right. Mr. Weller Thomas is the former CEO, publisher of Pathfinders Travel Magazine. The travel magazine for people of color. Launched in 1997, Weller and his wife, PJ Thomas, founded the first leisure travel magazine in the USA, written by and for the African American traveler. Pathfinders covered travel across the USA, several countries on the continent of Africa, European destinations, South America, and China. In 1998, Pathfinders launched the Pathfinders Travel Group, focusing on heritage and cultural travel, with its maiden trip to the Low Country of South Carolina to explore Gullah Geechee culture, of which descends from Liberia and Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone. I'm getting tongue-tied. The travel group has visited the island nation of Cuba several times, beginning in 1998, along with Egypt, South Africa, Europe, and other international destinations. After 25 years of publishing, Weller is now focused on providing group travel full-time, along with his passion for financial services, showing people how to position their financial assets to travel and live their lives to the fullest. Weller and his partner in life and business, PJ, recently celebrated 30 years of marriage. A native of Virginia, Weller now resides in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Weller Thomas.
Thank you, Agnolia. And hopefully everybody can hear me okay? Good. I just text Lisa because it says my internet connection is unstable. So if I happen to go off, I will tell them my phone. But first of all, greetings to everyone. Happy to be able to participate on this forum. And I'm just going to kind of go right into some of my observations. I met Eric and Lisa about, I guess it was definitely pre-COVID, about 3 or 4 years. Newport News, Virginia, and I was just very impressed with what we saw. Thank you for the opportunity. But I must say this, having been the only leisure travel publication in this country, I must say Zambia was not on my radar. I became aware of Zambia because of Eric and Lisa. And of course, when I heard what they were doing, I immediately drove down to Virginia and spent the weekend down there. Which brings a comment and a point that I want to express. There has been several countries that are reaching out to the African-American traveler, and I'm speaking from someone that's been on the leisure side of travel. And of course, this is much deeper than just leisure travel. This is business opportunities, but through leisure travel, I think as you begin to invite people and speak to them, letting them know what you have, I'm just baffled that a country as rich in culture as Zambia has not identified ways to reach out to the African American consumer. When I launched Pathfinders in 1997, it wasn't just on a whim. We did about 2 years of research on the market and recognized that African Americans back in 1997 was spent over $40 billion on travel. There was no travel publication written or even targeted to African Americans. You couldn't even find advertising that depicted us going on vacation. And we just said, this is absolutely ridiculous. And we saw a business opportunity there. And people told us we were crazy. This will never work. But, you know, we did it for 25 years. And we have weathered the storm, if you will. We decided now that at this stage of our lives, we want to get out ourselves and see travel and share it with other people. So with that said, I would encourage and recommend to a country like Zambia, you need to market, you need to do your public relations. There are several Black, hence African-American publications, whether they're print media, electronic media, you've got television, you've got cable. You need to be able to invite people to come to your country to experience it. And these people will then come back and tout what you have. You know, I look at the example of Ghana, which again has not really marketed, but they basically did something similar to what, excuse me, Eric is doing. And Eric, I applaud you for this whole homecoming concept. But Ghana has led the charge on the continent of Africa in terms of attracting African Americans. Sure, they've had some advantages. You know, Kwame Nkrumah actually attended college here in Pennsylvania at one of the oldest HBCUs, Lincoln University. You also have other luminaries from Africa. There's a connection with the low country of South Carolina, Sierra Leone, and Liberia particularly, with Beaufort, South Carolina. The first president of Liberia actually was a native of Beaufort, South Carolina. So there is that connection there. As I did some research on Zambia just these last few days, I see that your country is very rich. And first of all, you've got over 72 ethnic groups. That's fascinating in itself. But one thing that keeps coming back whenever I was doing research, talking to people who've been to Zambia, is the fact that it is a very welcoming place. It is, the people are so kind. And that is a huge advantage for any country, especially when people aren't aware of who you are. But the message has to be, in my opinion, it has to be targeted. You've got to be intentional. As I mentioned earlier, in 1997, African Americans spent $40 billion. In 2019, that figure was over, you might as well say almost $1 trillion. No, forgive me for a second, it's not $1 trillion. It was actually 109 billion, forgive me for that error. But again, this was pre-COVID 2019. So naturally, the whole world, including the United States, saw a decline in travel. But there's a huge opportunity there. And African Americans now are becoming more aware of Africa in general. They want to reconnect with their roots. There are several people who have done DNA research. They're going back to their homeland. I myself just did this a couple of years ago, proud to find out that my people came from Cameroon. And interesting enough, so did my wives. And we joked about it. I said, I married my cousin. But interesting enough, I think press trips targeted to the African American. We don't necessarily come all the way to Africa to lay up on the beach. We want to connect with our roots, our culture, the food, just the experience, and feel like we know that from whence we came, and we want to connect there. But beyond that, you know, I want to applaud Lisa and Eric for putting the work in, and you've hung in there. I know, Eric, we shared some conversations when we first met. You told me this journey that you've been on, trying to get people to make that leap back across the Atlantic and reclaim our heritage. And I applaud you for that. So I don't have too much else to say. I would say to you, again, I encourage you to keep up the good work. I'm looking forward to one day soon visiting Zambia myself. One of my friends who actually introduced me to Eric just commented on how wonderful it was and how friendly the people are. So, with that said, I'm open for questions. As you heard in my bio, we are totally focused now on doing group heritage trips. So hopefully we can actually bring a group to Zambia. Right now, we're focusing on Ghana. I'm a Cuba specialist. I've traveled to Cuba since my first trip was in 1997. We are in and out of Cuba. We're looking to do missions work there. The people are suffering, but our people are catching hell all over the world. So it's not just Cuba, it's lots of places. And at this stage of our lives, we want to get out and explore and just see this world that God has given us. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you so much. And we definitely want to give our viewers an opportunity to ask any questions about your tours. How often, I guess my question would be, how many tours do you do a year? How long do you stay? Are there certain times of the year that you travel?
Okay, well, happy to answer that. Right now, my main focus has been Cuba. December, my wife and I renewed our vows in Havana at the Ebenezer Baptist Church. We were excited. Our first anniversary trip for us was in '97. We just couldn't believe how much misinformation we had been given about Cuba. For those of you who have not been there, it is a Black island. Let me get that up front. They are still practicing Yoruba religion, African culture, and so forth. But to get back to your question, I most recently just came back last month with 35 people, and we stayed approximately 6 days. I am looking to take a missions group down in probably May. I'm doing a group trip in May as well as in October. As far as times of travel there, we tend to not go between June and November because it's hurricane season, particularly the summer months. It's extremely hot. And I deal with a lot of baby boomers. So baby boomers want to be comfortable. Some of them may have mobility issues, things like that. But and I'm not saying we don't take younger people, but even with younger people, I would not recommend going to Cuba in the summer. But as to when we travel, we're going to be traveling all year. And typically going to Africa, I know we've done South Africa, we've traveled to Egypt. We tend to do 10 to 12-day trips as a minimum. I think to travel that far and then try to get back in 5, 6, or 7 days does not make good sense to me, because you're going to spend a day traveling to get there and a day traveling back. But throughout the year, this year we'll probably be doing at least 2 more international trips. I am taking a group to South Carolina. We don't leave out the USA. Eric has done a wonderful job. And I was just fascinated when I met Eric. He told me he had the Dismal Swamp tour. And I'm like, my God, I grew up 40 some miles from the Dismal Swamp and never been there. I just saw the signs. But, we've been fascinated with the Gullah Geechee culture of South Carolina. As you probably well know, most of you on this call or this meeting, the International African American Museum is opening in Charleston. And I had originally planned to go there in April. The grand opening was delayed because of humidity and moisture. So my goal is to take a group there in September. It'll be after Labor Day. Again, because of the excessive heat in South Carolina, we like to go when it's a little cooler. But that's pretty much it. We're looking forward, going forward, we're going to be going into Ghana. I personally have been to Ethiopia. I don't think they're really ready for quote unquote African-American tourists outside of church groups, but you know, we're looking at Kenya and Tanzania. So we're definitely gonna, I'm interested in taking a look at what Zambia has to offer. And you know, the types of trips that we do, it's similar to Eric, it's heritage and culture. We're not taking people to the beach. We're not looking to go to casinos, and you know, that's not what we do. So if you're looking for that, you don't want to really travel with Pathfinders. But that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you so much. Do we have any other questions? Any other comments from our viewers?
If I could, if I can make a comment, and I'd like to sincerely thank Weller, been a brother that, and that doesn't happen often, but it's been a brother that we connected when we first seen each other and heard what each other was doing. And it wasn't we weren't looking to compete with each other, we were looking to complement each other. As you see, that is what's happening now. And furthermore, as Brother Weller and others go into Zambia, just want to let y'all know, if y'all did not know, we was welcomed there in Western Province or Barosi land. And I would dare to say, like, nobody has been welcomed coming back home to Africa before. The Latunga, or the king, and the Barosi kingdom there in the Barosi royal establishment, through the senior chiefs there in the kingdom, granted us 300 acres of land to build a homecoming headquarters for us there. So when all of you are considering going to Africa and a place to connect up that will reach out to other countries in Africa, that's what I consider to be our quote unquote embassy on the continent. And the opportunities, that's why we're doing these industry sector webinars. The opportunities are tremendous. I'm getting information back on aviation, opportunities to partner and invest, mining, more land. Ghana is now, you know, we're working on something in Ghana as well to complement what we're doing in Zambia. So for those of you on this, this webinar, I am not exaggerating. Opportunities are like we have never been introduced to in America. So I applaud you, Will, and I applaud everybody being there just to listen. And the thing is, put one step in front of the other. It's time to go home now and connect up. So I'll leave you with
Well
that.
said, Eric.
Right. I had one more question for Mr. Thomas, but definitely wanted to say to our viewers as well, this movement is for it to be a win-win. So it's not just about what we can get when we go to Africa, but what can we give? What can we give back? And that has been one of the big things since I've been a part of this, I keep saying movement, that Eric has always said. It's about us going over and being a resource, serving our people. And so it's a give and take as well. I wanted you to share a little bit more, if you could just give me a really quick snippet about the Gullah Geechee tour. What does that look like? Because I mean, you talked about it, but you didn't really talk about it. So I'm very interested, just a quick snippet of what that looks like.
Now, you mentioned that you're from Arkansas, correct?
I am from Arkansas, yes.
Okay. Well, the Gullah Geechee corridor, and let me just give you some background on this. And it's probably been a little over 10 years ago. U.S. Congressman Jim Clyburn ushered in some legislation where the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor has been now recognized as an official historic corridor. The Low Country of South Carolina, when you look at not just South Carolina, because North Carolina is also a part of that, the state of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, that comprises the Gullah Geechee heritage culture. But most of you who are, quote unquote, African Americans who lived on the East Coast, particularly in the South, if you're of my age, and probably Eric's, if you call someone a Geechee, back when I was coming up, those were fighting words. Okay. That was what people were called because we could not understand them because they still maintained their linguistics
Language.
from West Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fast forward a little bit, there have been reunions of people from Liberia and Sierra Leone who have come to Beaufort
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have any communication problem. Okay. They are, it's the Geechee language or Gullah Geechee language is now, it is now an official language. We understand now that it wasn't just Pig Latin. Okay. They were speaking West African terms. I've had the personal opportunity to visit on the Fusky Island what was called a praise house. These were these little small churches that people worshiped in during the week. They didn't go to the big church. And I actually attended a worship service and actually held in my hand a Gullah Bible. And reading scripture, I could then understand the language. So when I said, when you talk about that culture, the language was intact. Because of Hilton Head and those areas, it was infested with mosquitoes prior to air conditioning being invented. You had, quote unquote, our enslaved ancestors living there, and they were left alone because they did not have white overseers, believe it or not. And I found that fascinating. But until when they put the bridge in to go over to Hilton Head, and then air conditioning, whites started coming back. So all of this land, this waterfront property used to be owned by the descendants. And unfortunately now, because of Marriott and all these huge resorts coming in, people are losing their property. So, and I don't want to get too deep in the woods on that, but they have maintained their language. They are very intact. As a matter of fact, Michelle Obama's roots come from Georgetown, South Carolina. I was just there 3 weeks ago. So they have maintained the sweetgrass basket, the weaving, the same baskets that you will find in West Africa. You can buy them in South Carolina, made by South Carolinians. So the history of our people, at one point, rice, not cotton, rice was the major crop in this country. And that was because of South Carolina. They were the wealthiest people, not only in South Carolina, United States, but in the entire world. Slavery was business. It wasn't just about, let's just take these Black people. They were very strategic in going to Sierra Leone and Liberia because they grew rice, the indigo. So when you do the Gullah Geechee tour, you really begin to understand how our people built this country with free labor. But the resilience of our people is what we want people to know. It's particularly our young people. You can do anything. So now, and I'm going to close with this because you guys can go to pathfinderstravel.com. My website is still there. We're going to be doing newsletters and things and talking about our trips. But the International African American Museum, it will be opening soon. And there is so much of our history. They have a slave mart museum in Charleston. They have the Avery Research Center there in Charleston. You have, I hate using this word plantations, but there were formerly plantations there that are now telling our side of the story and how we contributed and really maintained that wealth for them, because they didn't do this work, we did. It was our genius that was able to maintain that. In Georgetown, there is a Gullah museum there. That's when I found out about Michelle Obama's roots. So it's an eye opener. And I will tell you this, because I'm a foodie. You know, I should have been doing a food column at Pathfinders. You will not get a bad meal in South Carolina.
Wow.
So we make sure you eat well, you're going to learn something, and you come away rejoiced. So,
Right. Thank you so much.
now that's the short answer to your question.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I lived in Jacksonville for about 3 years. I did take a short tour, and the food that I tasted, I had been eating all my life.
Mhm.
I'm like, I've tasted this before. My grandmother used to cook these kinds of meals, but thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm thank you to Mr. Thomas for sharing about his business. And so our final expert speaker for this morning's webinar is our very own Lisa Sheppard. She is the tour director and executive consultant for Mubita LLC. In her role, Lisa is responsible for co-organizing the logistics for Mubita LLC's domestic and international tourism programs. This includes the Great Dismal Swamp Heritage Tours in Virginia and North Carolina, and the African Homecoming Orientation and Trade Mission Tours in Zambia, Ghana, and the Gambia. Lisa was also a past co-organizer of the Africa Business Conferences and Heritage Symposiums under Mubita LLC's legacy organization, Diversity Restoration Solutions Incorporated. Lisa has a 30+ year background in human resources with a specialty in employee benefits and event planning. She is married to Eric Mubita Sheppard, CEO and founder of Mubita LLC, and they are the proud parents of 4 adult children, Malcolm, Mackenzie, Terica, and Candace, and grandparents to 4 grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Lisa Sheppard.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Bea. I appreciate it. And I thank everybody for being on the call today. So it's going to be hard to follow up with Weller and Manyema and all who have shared today. But what I'd like to do is to give you some specific opportunities and also probably give you food for thought of what you may do, particularly in Western Province in the travel, tourism, and hospitality industries. So I am going to share my screen now. And if anybody has questions as we go through, please feel free to stop and ask. So can everybody see the screen here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So there are many opportunities with tourism and hospitality, particularly in Western Province. But the beauty of it is that it's such a raw picture, a raw canvas, because that part of Zambia has not been as well developed as others. There's opportunities that you can't even imagine for travel, tourism, and hospitality. And I will go over a few of the areas such as cultural tourism, heritage tourism, sports tourism, just to give you an idea and have you think about what you may do and how you can see yourself here, whether it be to start a business, to partner with other entrepreneurs and businesses who are already existing and trying to expand in Western Province, or even just visiting, as Weller mentioned. Just having another opportunity to expand your horizons to a different African country where you may not know that our history actually connects to. So I'd like to start with cultural tourism. In Western Province, they have a ceremony called the Kimboka ceremony, which is an annual ceremony that in the rainy season, which runs from about November to May, the king of the Barotse Kingdom, in which Eric and Mubita LLC and DRS Limited, he granted them 300 acres to build a facility, which I'll talk about. The king actually moves his palaces from the low grounds to the high grounds, and the king is called the Latunga. And it is a huge ceremony each year because in the low grounds, the area actually floods. The Barotse Plains floods where one of his palaces is, and he has to move to the high ground palace. This is a coordinated ceremony that takes all day because, as you see here, There are paddlers, royal paddlers that hand paddle his boat, which has the elephant on top, which is a symbol of the Lutunga. It paddles all the way up to his next palace. During that ceremony, they always have at least 20,000 visitors that come to that ceremony. And that is the largest cultural ceremony, my understanding, that is celebrated in Zambia and has been celebrated for hundreds of years. So it's nothing new, but there's opportunities for the Kimboka ceremony, because if you can imagine 20,000 people who are coming to this ceremony, where are they all going to stay? Where are they all going to eat? How are they going to get there? These are opportunities that can be expanded upon if you have a vision to be able to look at yourself, look at your business and say, maybe I can be a part of that and participate. We hope to one day be able to take a group from here to the Kimboka ceremony. We're looking at that logistically so that people can actually see the opportunities, but we hope that someone will be able to actually build their business around this model even before we're able to take a group there, because the need is there. Another cultural tourism site is called Sioma Falls, or Yonge Falls. I've heard also some people call this Little Victoria Falls, because as we know, Victoria Falls is well known throughout the United States, but in Western Province, they have this falls as well. And there are opportunities for hospitality, to build lodges or hotels, to expand that in the Sioma Falls area, and make that a place, a wellness place, a resort place, build that up for those who may want to go there and also increase the tourism. Hospitality tourism. So in Western Province, there are some lodges. There aren't any major hotels, but they do have lodges. Both of these lodges we have stayed in and taken groups there, stayed in these lodges. Lasili Lodge is owned by the Catholic Church. If you look that up on the internet, and the Catholic Church, all the funds and proceeds that come in through the reservations go back to support a Catholic Church orphanage in that area. Country Lodge Mangu is a lodge that has several lodges throughout Zambia, one of them being in Mangu. They also have a lodge in Sioma Falls as well. So they have two lodges there in Western Province. But there's plenty of room and opportunity to expand and build another lodge to help with the what they call the heads in beds opportunity, and then to also be able to expand the tourism for Western Province as well. Here's another picture of Country Lodge. Actually, this was the first lodge that we stayed in 2019. Beautiful grounds, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. When you go there, a lot of people still think when people go to Africa, people live in huts or stay in huts. Well, I can tell you from my experience in going to the Gambia, Ghana, and Zambia, those are some of the most beautiful places and beautiful lodging that I have seen, rival to, and some even being better than here in the United States. Another area of tourism, which is fairly new to Western Province from an aspect of somebody coming in to develop, is sports tourism. So right now there is a huge track and field, or they call it athletics in Africa, opportunity for sports tourism. Boxing is another big opportunity, and even basketball. There is a gentleman who is going to be doing track and field clinics, and also trying to organize track and field events, particularly in Western Province. The boxing industry is huge. Our son Malcolm and one of our other EUF network subscribers who lives in Pennsylvania, they are working with the Barotse Boxing Academy right now in order to fund them with equipment and also to help with an exchange of boxing programs and boxing tournaments. So that's another, if you're a sports enthusiast, there's always opportunity there to take your sport and try to develop that and create some kind of business model or opportunity there. Basketball is another great development. Some of you may or may not know, but the NBA now has an Africa Basketball League. So there's opportunities to develop basketball clinics and things like that in Western Province to support that. If you look at any of these sports industries, you can actually take athletes from here over there for training and development because of the weather. The weather is beautiful most of the time year round, but that's another opportunity to have a business model, build a sports development facility there, and to be able to train our US athletes, and for those also of African descent, be able to introduce them to cultural heritage and history about their ancestors in Africa at the same time. So some real-time opportunities that just came about for Mubita LLC, for those who say, well, that's just the future, maybe things aren't happening. We actually got the opportunity to invest into a new lodge, well, a lodge there that has been sitting. And we are looking at this particular opportunity. It overlooks the Barotse floodplains, which is a great tourism site, especially if you look on that right side, that's where the floodplains are and where the boat comes through on the floodplains for the Kimboka ceremony. But these are opportunities that Eric and Mubita LLC get every day from our partners in Western Province, looking for partners here in the United States to be able to come over to help them develop. So you see here the opportunities here with the entrance of the hotel and other things, but it's a beautiful opportunity, real-time opportunity. So if you think these are things that are just far out, just think again. These are things that are happening right underneath your nose that you may not know about unless you are a part of the Mubita LLC network. Heritage tourism. For those of you who don't know, Zambia did have a slave trade history. A lot of people think of Angola because that was the first place where the 20 and odd came from here in Jamestown back in 1619. We know that slavery existed earlier in there, but under British rules, 1619, the 20 and odd enslaved ancestors eventually settled in the Jamestown area. But what a lot of people do not know is that there was slavery in the Western Province of Zambia. And in that slavery area, if Arab slave traders were taking our ancestors either to the Arab countries or coming through going to Angola to the ports to be put on ships. We had the privilege and honor to be able to see the slave pens that still exist there in Western Province and the river where our ancestors were transported. It touches you to see that, but it also tells you that our history goes beyond this country. We were born of kings and queens. We have the heritage, we have the history. And now Zambia, particularly Western Province, is ready to share that with the world with the help of Mubita LLC. And the other tourism cornerstones of what we do with Mubita LLC are our Restoration Center and Wall of Return projects. The Western Restoration Center and Wall of Return projects date back to well before we started taking people on tourism opportunities to Africa. Restoration Center was a vision of Eric's back in the early 2000s to be able to have a place for African Americans to reconnect to the continent for business and cultural heritage. On the right, you see a rendition of what we plan to build on that 300 acres. And on the left, you'll see the cornerstone that was laid in a ceremony at the 400th anniversary observation of the transatlantic slave trade when we went to Zambia in 2019. During that time, we had well over 5,000 to 7,000 people that came out just to see our small delegation and to welcome us home. Imagine that, and also imagine you going back to be able to connect to a heritage that you may or may not know about, but to truly be welcomed home. The Wall of Return project, this is where we take our ancestors home, another tourism opportunity for people around the world, not just here in America, but around the world to come see our enslaved ancestors' name. This is just a rendition of the Wall of Return. It will not actually look like this, but it'll be 12 walls that will represent different aspects of our heritage and culture. And our ancestors' names will be listed on these walls for the world to see. Just like when they took Joseph's bones in the Bible back to Canaan, we can't take bones, although we do have what we call a memorial homecoming for people who want to be buried in Africa, and they can be buried on the land of Mubita LLC, or have their ashes taken back there. We're working on that. But to be able to take their names back home and to symbolically return them to that land of their ancestors is something that the world will want to see and the world will come to see as part of our heritage tourism in Africa. So other future opportunities in Western Province, Mubita LLC has helped the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge establish a strategic tourism partnership with the Barosi Royal Establishment Kingdom. So what does this mean? There's opportunities that can flow not only through private business, but also through the federal government, through the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge, because of their shared histories with being a refuge for the enslaved. There's sports tournaments and development clinics opportunities that I mentioned earlier. You can have a music festival. Bring our music over there and combine it with the African music and have a festival, unique festival that only we can do. Family reunions, as well mentioned, wedding and vow renewals have a special place for that on the African continent. Conferences and seminars. We can have our professional organizations, fraternities, sororities, NAACP, anybody to be able to have set up and have conferences and seminars in the facilities that we build, the hotels and the lodges that we build, and that money stays in our community. You can have wellness retreats. With the wellness retreats, it's an opportunity for us to go over there and to reconnect to our heritage, reconnect to the land, open ourselves up to get ourselves right, to feeling better, to get a clear mind. So many opportunities to be able to do wellness retreats there. And the landscape and the beauty of it will just be so relaxing for you. And anything you can imagine, you can do it in Africa, and you can do it especially in Western Province. That area is yours to be able to reconnect and establish partnerships with our brothers and sisters in Africa. As last, I just want to touch on also what we do is our Africa Homecoming orientation tours. And we had stopped doing those because of COVID, but we did start back in 2022. And in 2023, we're going to be taking an Africa Homecoming orientation tour group to Ghana. Our tentative date is going to be Wednesday, August 9th through Thursday, August 17th. Flights will be leaving from United Airlines at Dulles Airport. Some of the things that we'll be doing will be cultural and heritage tours, Cape Coast slave dungeon tours, Accra City tours, tours of the W.E.B. Du Bois Cultural Center, authentic cooking classes, and a signature of Mubita LLC will be our African American Youth Exchange Day, encouraging youth here on the continent, in the US and on the African continent to come together to build the future, because the youth is our future. Africa has the fastest growing youth population in the world. We have everything that we need to be able to implement what we want now and to have that carry over to future generations. So our orientation tours are open to our Economic Unity Force subscribers, and Eric will explain the Economic Unity Forces shortly for you, and we'll release registration details in mid-March. So with that, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Here's our contact information. Our website is www.mubita.net, and our web email is info@mubita.net. You can learn more about being a part of that Economic Unity Force. And if you go to the website, you'll see all of the industry sectors that Mubita LLC is promoting to help develop Western Province. And we're looking for people to be a part of that subscription, whether you're an individual, whether you are a business who's looking for opportunities, or whether you are a professional with expertise that you want to share that and possibly be considered as part of Mubita LLC's development team. We need you, we want you, we need to have you. So with that, I'd like to turn that back over to B. And if there's any questions for me, please feel free to ask.
Excellent. Lisa, very, very profound. So much information, viewers, so much information. There's no way you can just keep everything that has been said in your head. You have to take notes. You have to write this information down. And so the question now for me is, where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself in this picture? There's a lot to do. This is not just a group of people getting together to go out and be a looky-loo and see what's happening. We are about making a difference. And our guest speakers today have given you a lot of information. And so the question is, again, Lisa just said, individually, as a business, where do you see yourself? So as we sit on these webinars and we're listening to this, what we need is feedback. We need to hear your thoughts. We need you to comment. We need to see, to hear where you fit in to this movement, because there's a lot to do. And we want you to be a part of that. So again, we're asking if there are any questions. I took a lot of notes. There's just so many opportunities for us to get it. And if it's not you, then do you know somebody? Who are those people that you know that would be a perfect fit into what we're doing here with Mubita.net?
B, we have two questions, one from Weller and then one from Manyima. They have.
Excellent.
I'll defer to the beautiful lady.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just want to add on what Lisa have said with all these opportunities that they're talking about, that she's talking about Zambia in Western Providence. I just wanted to add that most of the people around here, if you tell them about Africa, especially Zambia, they're like, what can I do? How much can I charge? And I have this, one of my friends was telling me the last time, she's a caterer here. Basically, she does weddings. And she was like, oh, I'm about to go to Gambia and have this wedding, cook for weddings. How much should I charge? I said, just charge them the same price as you charge in the US. Surprisingly, she charged the same price and people were ordering her left and right. So just to put in that, Africa is not poor. Yes, it's not poor, there is a lot of opportunities in there.
Very good. Oh, you're done?
Yes,
Thank you,
I am.
Manyima.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lisa, you got my attention. You mentioned about investing in lodges and what have you. In terms of building, and I know you can't go deep into the weeds here, but how is the infrastructure in terms of getting supplies, materials, the workforce? Is there a skilled labor force there? If you wanted to say, for example, and I'm not sitting there saying I'm gonna build a hotel, but something like a Airbnb or a lodge, a small lodge. What are some of the challenges that one would probably incur?
I'm going to defer to Eric on that, because that actually
Okay.
goes into one of our other industry sectors.
Okay.
And you can explain that a little bit better and how you can mirror the two, because there are opportunities and are challenges as well, but plenty of opportunities. So Eric, if you'd like to answer that.
Brother Weller, there is development in Western Province, if you would, in Zambia in total, but in the capital city, it's a lot more developed in Lusaka. than where we are in Western Province. So some of the challenges are energy. I'm encouraging people to, especially, I mean, we right off the Kalahari Desert. I mean, why not put up solar farms? These are the opportunities available to us. And even when you're talking about manufacturing the solar panels, there, you can do all that. Yeah, they do have a labor force that is challenged in terms of it's too much of a labor force and not enough jobs.
I got you.
Yeah, so I think some training, and you know how they do here with the workforce development and all.
Yes.
All those things need to be looked into. That's what the whole economic unity force with professionals and businesses need to plug in so we can transfer technology services and, you know, the best practices, not only from our side, but find out what they're doing on their side, and we merge it and see what works best for everybody. So energy is a challenge. You heard about the hotels and everything. Now, some of the raw materials, cement and things like that, from what I've been told now and what I've observed, Western Province is 4,000 square miles larger than the state of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And not one quarry. Not one, they have all the timber you want, but no mills in the manufacturing for those type of products that can all be enhanced. And what does that say? It brings out opportunity for us beyond measure. This is, in my terms, and I'll say this, and I'm going to be saying it more boldly now, we've been given a promised land opportunity in Western Province that I will put up against anything moving in Africa. Now, if our people here, and I'm not discriminating whites and everybody that want to participate, but we're not going in to take, we're going in to give, and it could be a win-win for everybody. But all those visions you have of owning your own business or partnering with somebody, in no matter what industry sector, manufacturing, aviation, you name it, it's needed. And so that is the challenge. So I think, you know, I'm not a civil engineering planner or developer, but we can have those people plug into us. It's going to be growth, but you know, how we grow this, like you're talking about in hotels or bed and breakfast, we can accommodate those kind of things right now. But if we go too fast developing and you don't have transportation to get the people there, that becomes a problem. So
I got you.
Yeah. So
thank you for that. And that lets me know I need to be on your economic development Zoom meetings.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Wow. This has been enlightening. And every webinar has been. If you did not make it to the November webinar, you didn't make it to the January webinar, there are recordings. We are recording today, and these recordings are available to you. And again, this is not about us coming together on a Saturday morning to get all of this information and do nothing with it. It's time to make it happen. And I am just so excited to be a part of this. And I just want to thank Eric and Lisa for the opportunity to be a part of something this amazing. It's just not about an individual, it's about making a difference for a mass of people, bringing two entities together, taking us back to the motherland. And rightfully so.
And B,
yes.
before you close out, I'd like to also share information with the audience about our Economic Unity Force opportunities.
Of
so
course.
that find themselves wanting to plug into us, which we have some opportunities, I'm just going to share on our screen from our
Okay.
website. Our
Hmm. I can't hear. Lisa, I can't hear you. Is it me?
sorry, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
So I was saying these are the opportunities that Eric has identified for Western Province for development. If you can dream it, you can achieve it there. 24 industry sectors, from agribusiness to manufacturing to transformation, psychological. When we go back to Africa, we don't need to take the same mindset we have here. We need to transform and understand that we're going back to the land of our ancestors. Aviation, entertainment and media, real estate, the memorial homecomings and burials, family genealogy, etc. These are the areas that if you subscribe to our Economic Unity Force network, that you will be privileged to. What is the cost? The cost annually depends on what level of interest you have. We have 3 levels. We have our professional level for those who have a professional interest and expertise in a particular industry sector. We have the business level. If you want your company front and center for opportunities, there's a business level. And then we have individuals, those who are on the webinar today who may not have a business, but just want to support and stay connected to what Mubita LLC is doing with our Zambia, Ghana, and the Gambia homecoming countries through what we call our Birthright Nation program. You are entitled to this. This is your inheritance. Stay connected. And also, it also gives you the opportunity to go on any of our future orientation and or trade mission tours. So after today's call, if you see yourself fitting in with what we do and want to stay connected, we definitely invite you to join us on this journey. You will not be disappointed. You will learn more. You'll be able to set up things for future generations in your family to be able to connect back to Africa. And as we always like to say, we don't do tours because we go home. We do homecoming. And we're not a tour company if that's what you're looking for. It's much bigger than a tour company. It's a homecoming. So thank you.
Wow. And thank you. And so I'm just going to close out and let Eric come back with his final remarks. Thank you again for the opportunity to be your moderator for the day. It has been another beautiful webinar with a lot of information. And we need to individually and collectively make the connects, the phone calls, the emails that we need to make to move Mubita.net forward. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Sister B. I should say Cousin B as well. Another wonderful job. I am so thankful for you, Lisa, Manima, Weller, all the people who came on and took part in this, as well as those who came on to join and receive information, and maybe those ideas are turning over in your mind right now. I believe that everything happens for a reason. And 20, I think it was 20, at least 22, no, 25, 26 years ago now, I was one of 3 people that sat at a Shoney's restaurant in Baltimore, Maryland. In that restaurant, Reverend Dr. John Wright, who has since passed, asked me to join him and Ben Chavis to meet. They were going to be going over something at breakfast. It was the 3 of us. And it was about something Minister Farrakhan wanted to do, something about some march or something like that. And that's how it got started. The Million Man March effort got started in Maryland. It was 3 people: Ben Chavez, Reverend Wright, NAACP president from Maryland, president of the National Baptist Convention from Maryland, and me. And I never understood why I was there until right now. We gathering up now, so I'm gonna use that same approach. Weller, I'd like to start with you in Philadelphia. We talked about meeting, but I'm gonna take what they did and see how we can start to gather us up by visiting Philadelphia, just a few of us at a restaurant, sitting down, talking about this approach and how we're gathering up, and go from there. And we'll do the same thing across the country. So I'm happy that we are making progress, but I'm even more excited about the progress that's going to be made. And so with that, we'll close out. And before we end, is there anybody have any questions or comments they'd like to unmute and say that now for a short period of time, and then I'll turn it back over to B to close out.
Eric, I'm going to say this to you before you get all the other comments. Brother, I love to eat. When you come to Philly, I know exactly where to take you. Look forward to it.
Looking forward to it. Okay. Wonderful.
Eric, I'd like to share the upcoming dates for our future seminars through May. Our next webinar is going to be on Saturday, March 18th, transportation, which will include aviation, shipping, and trucking opportunities. And for those of you who don't know, Mubita LLC is in the process of developing a charter airline that will fly from Richmond International Airport into our homecoming countries. So we hope to launch that in 2024. Mining and construction on Saturday, April 15th, and media and entertainment opportunities webinar on May 20th. All of this will be posted to our website at www.mubita.net. And also, anybody on the call today, you will receive information on our constant contact email about future webinars and other events. Thank you.
And could you, okay, we have one more, and I'll try to get her while we close out if Josepha can unmute. So I'm gonna ask her to call me, and then I will put her on the speakerphone right up against my mic, and maybe y'all can hear her as well. Let me try to do this. All right. Can y'all hear Josepha now? Go ahead, Josepha.
Yes, I'll try to speak a little louder here. I'm driving as a mom and a grandmother. I just been with the kids at the youth practice at church. So anyway, mine is a comment. One of our participants asked the challenges that are on the continent. One of them asking about if, say, you are into construction or you need services that need some expertise. I think what I can say is Mubita LLC and all the partners involved, including me and you all that are on this call, is that we are here to resolve such challenges. Whereby if we are talking about service industry that we do not have providers, I think it's a wake-up call to us. What can we do in order for us to train our young people who are in the area of the province where Mubita is given an opportunity to develop, so that we can be able to feed into such expertise, drawing from what we have here in the United States, and to the young people there that are enthusiastic and ready to be trained. So that's one. Second, I think this is our stepping stone as Mubita LLC in Zambia, because other opportunities are open in many other countries. The 55 member nations of the African Union, all of them are really open to the opportunities of welcoming our ancestral sisters and brothers from the US and around the world. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Josepha. And Josepha, tell them where you're from so they know where this is coming from.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anyways, I come from the continent, but specifically from Rwanda, where my husband and I have established ourselves there, have worked for both Rwanda as well as the US and the continent. In addition to Rwanda, I come from Wisconsin.
Wonderful. Is it okay to say where you work as well?
Oh, I think I mentioned
In Washington, D.C.
That's correct. That's where our office is located.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So if anybody has any further questions or comments relative to the African Union, Josepha is a great point of contact, been knowing her for years, and her husband Floyd as well has experience on the African continent, so they're a great resource and wonderful people as well. So any comments or questions? Everybody good? All right, thank you all so much. Turn it back over to you, B, to close out.
All right. Well, thank you again, Eric and Lisa, and the entire Mubita team for this opportunity. Thank you, Eric, for this vision. And definitely want to encourage everyone that is on today, share your information. If you know that you see yourself somewhere on this team, make sure you stay connected. Make sure you go to the website, mubita.net, and all of the information is there. All of the people that you need to contact, if you have any questions, that's how you're going to reach Eric and Lisa, myself. This has been another excellent webinar. And we look forward to seeing you again, March 18th, April 15th, and May 20th. We'll see you there. Don't miss it.
Thank you.